day of Thanksgiving, and for all those Black Friday shoppers. Oh my gosh, emails. Everyone's doing a Black Friday deal. John Person's not. He's doing this for you as a Black Friday deal because I think this is going to be awesome because it's working and it seems to be okay so far. We got the finger on the pulse a little teeny bit. Good Black Friday to all. Hey, by the way, just thought I'd let everyone know if you were thinking about what's the next big holiday that's coming. You probably already knew about it because right after the Chicago Air and Water Show, which is in August, you just snap a finger and there comes Feliz Navidad. It's Christmas time. In fact, the first Sunday of Advent is Sunday. So if you don't have an Advent calendar, count it all down, man. It's 25 days away. First Sunday of Advent. That's 4 Sundays. That's what Advent kind of is like the countdown. Anyway, Andy, welcome. Joe, thank you. So basically, everyone, this has been a kind of an interesting. It's been an interesting 2 weeks. I got to tell you, with on the personal side, and I just again want to thank everybody for your thoughts and prayers. And we'll keep you posted on our son Johnny. As many of you have met Johnny, he used to work with us, and I'm sure it's gonna be an ordeal. That's for sure. In the meantime, let's get down to business. Now, I'm kind of like been thinking and doing a lot of extra studying and extra work and scans, and we're doing some things behind the scenes with a new product that I think is going to be. It's got all of my. I mean, it's got my weekly, monthly, open, close relationship support targets. I mean, it's just absolutely crazy. And in trying and testing it out, and it also uses a little bit of, and I don't want to use this generic term, but a little bit of AI, because when I say find me um, uh, stocks related to the AI trade, it populates things, and then I want to have some criteria about functionality of profitability and price earning ratio and things of that nature. So anyway, I thought I'd just kind of like give you a little taste. And this morning, while I did not speak, if you guys could scroll up, you may have read a whole bunch of neat stuff here that I wanted to be focused on. And not only am I going to be focused on it for the next week, and hopefully, and I think we're going to get a broad pullback in the market, probably between now and Fed announcement. You know, usually the market's got to do some kind of scare. Somebody's going to sneeze. You know, the holiday cheer wears off, kind of like, and people start fretting about, oh, what do we do? Option expiration. Oh, somebody didn't do this, or somebody didn't do that, or this guy's bad and that guy's bad, and blah blah blah. And then you're gonna, obviously we'll get more maybe data, fresh data. So I mean that's the general gist of this market. It's never been kind of easy, right? I think today or this week the market gave us a little bit of a gift with this, everyone with the seasonality. But after this, I think it gets a little tricky, and it's going to be tricky in my humble opinion, based on not just my a technical point of view with looking at breadth analysis, but I will say it's going to get tricky by looking at maybe the breadth analysis. Now, I can't project this today because it would cause a disruption, and we do not want a hemorrhoidus interruptus, which is Latin for pain in the neck. We just want this to be smooth sailing. But if you could visualize, I think in the algo room we have the S&P breadth analysis up, and in the algo room we also have the Russell. So the Russell, as I said, and I'm almost at the cusp of saying everybody on this rally today, if you have any, in fact, I do feel compelled to do that. If long any more exposure to $ IWM options, take advantage of this rally and close out the position. Now, again, there are options, and if you got December 19th, or whether you got the end of the month expiration, the quarterly option expiration in IWM, I would say, this rally here, we probably get a little bit of a pullback, and we can maybe go into the after and roll out because we're going to get some theta decay. There's just no doubt. I mean, we're going to probably come into December. It's going to be kind of interesting. If we use the calendar and count it down, we've got, I mean, Hanukkah's coming up. We have Jewish holidays. People are going to be, and I think focused on the Fed. But the bottom line is, technically speaking, according to my JP Mick oscillator, and again the volume, which is okay. But if you have any, take advantage of this rally and close out the positions. We will look to roll out further month to January. Jan expiration. I'm going to type this up. Expiration and maybe up a few strikes. Okay. So to roll is not double O. It's just a single O with a double L. There it is. So I don't know what you guys put on. I know what we put on. I know what I put on, and that's what I've been doing today. So on the management side of things, I'm starting to offset and placing orders. The other day I said get out of like half, leave something on. Well, today, boom, now get out. We didn't really see a stellar rally, and I wish I just go back into the chart here for you guys, and let's at least put up the chart on IWM. And, here we are at an area of old resistance. I mean, you look at on-balance volume, and you'd say, well, what's wrong with this picture if I posted this correctly? And I think I did. I mean, this is, again, a weekly chart. We are going to get a weekly PPS buy, but that doesn't mean we can't pull back, which I think we're going to, like, a mild pullback, 39, something like that. One more down test. One more test of the downside, I mean. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see the challenge of 235 in the next week or so pull right back down. Usually when you're going to break out of an old resistance and it's tried and tested a bunch of times, the volume will lead us higher. And this rally, the volume's not leading us higher. So I'm just a little bit for that reason. And the relative performance isn't looking like outstanding at this point. Now, longer term, and so you got to look at the going out with the person's annual pivots. It does project a higher high, and higher low, but that I don't think we're just going to go straight up. I think we pull back and we consolidate, chop around a little bit. So rallies at old resistance kind of make me nervous. Number one, that with light volume, and that's kind of what I see here. Let's look at the monthly chart, because today not only is the end of the week, it's the end of the month. And so first and foremost, let's take care of current business. This was we would call this a hanging man pattern. Now, I'm not opposed to hanging mans in uptrends. This market snapped back to a moving average and broke back up. So longer term, the volume looks great. We're not outperforming relative to the S&P 500 on a monthly basis. But I mean, technical analysis is it's not a science, it's an art. Nothing's ever perfect. I could be wrong. It could just break out and go. If someone sneezes, now's the time to buy anything interest rate sensitive, which brings me to my next point. Yes, the Fed, I think the market's now projected in the Fed funds. We went from like a 90% to a 30% back up to an 80%, 85% probability that the Federal Reserve is going to cut rates in December. I'm pretty sure they're going to do it unless something like, and I don't know what it would be, because everything I see on the inflation front is pulling back. The big key for inflation once again, and the big uptick, was not because of tariffs, and it certainly is depending on which CEO reports, blaming tariffs as an increase in costs, when it's really financial services was the aspect. Some companies are like, yeah, no, we didn't see any problem with tariff, and then some companies that, like Home Depot, all tariffs are a problem. It's like, really? That's interesting. I thought it was you couldn't sell because construction, but then Lowe's came out and said, well, they're doing just fine. So maybe it's that what you're appealing to in your client base and your profitability to commercial end of aspects for Home Depot, for example. So it's, again, CEOs might want to use the buzzwords to get themselves off the hook. For maybe they made the wrong orders, or maybe they made the wrong, management decisions on what features to put out for consumers. Anyway, that's just my 2 cents. It's been kind of we get a mixed message in the markets. And I think we got to just look under the hood a little bit more and see where things are coming. Inflation, yes, maybe there's some prices that have upticked. Consumers are still nervous. The media makes the consumers nervous. But at the end of the day, whether the media wants and people listen to the TV and say how danger America is with the shootings in Washington, D.C., and the outrageous skirmishes that are happening in the streets of Chicago. The Doors wrote a song about that, I think. Dun, 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 dun. But anyway, I'm not going to get on the music side of it. At the end of the day, people are still going to say, "Yeah, enough, yeah, yeah, yeah." But it's Christmas, and I got to have a gift under the tree, So we're gonna start launching consumer spending like no tomorrow. Most people also know that at the end of the year, the last week from Christmas to New Year's is like the best time of the year to buy a car. And there's a lot of people looking to like wait till that last minute to see if they can get a deal. So I don't know if it's going to be Nissan that's going to win, Honda that's going to win, Hyundai that's going to win, but we will probably see an uptick after the Fed cuts rates. Even car exposure should do pretty well. And Ford, it comes to my mind in that regard, which some of you may still have those June 2026 12 strike calls from way back yonder for 78 cents. I think some of them are still on your books. So let's just talk turkey real quick. No pun intended with Thanksgiving. I think the market's a little overbought. Number one, on the JP Mick oscillator, we went from, which I can't share with you on this screen, but the IWM at a resistance. Number one, short term, we have a little bit of a light volume rally. We're up against an old high, and the volume levels are equal. So it tells me, and the relative performance is kind of weakening. So it tells me we get a little bit of a pullback and regroup perhaps, because we are a little overbought on that metric using the JP Mick oscillator. Yes, the advanced decline has been strong all week. Yes, the 80 comp lines have risen, but the JP Mick oscillator is showing a little bit overbought. All right, today, I'm going to get rid of, I'm going to expand this, edit studies, and then let's double check this. We're going to go to change this, and we're going to change it to weekly first and foremost for next week. Because what I want to cover right now is the broad market first, top bottom. I think that the Russell will still outperform relative to the S&P at year's end. We still should get a decent rally. I just think with options, as we get with theta decay, and you're sitting with, most of you might have the 245 options, they're going for about $8. So if you think about this, if you're in a 245 strike option and they're going for $8 and they're $3 in the money, that means they're giving you $5 worth of extrinsic value, which is ridiculous, which is theta, and again, I think and a little bit of volatility. So those are a little expensive. If the market just pauses, let's say I'm wrong, it doesn't really pull back. Any option that expires in December and at the end of the month, the quarterlies, they're going to get walloped in the next week to 10 days of a little bit of more theta decay. So that's why take advantage of this rally, look for a reset, and then we're going to have to go out and up like into January, like the first or the second week of January options, and I'll be watching that. So I just wanted to cover that first and foremost. Okay, so the Russell. Let me go over and take a look with the quick viewpoint of the S&P 500 in this particular rally. So we're pressing the highs of the year at the week of the holidays, which is pretty thin volume. And you can see that we are testing the highs and volume's not leading us. So the odds are we get a pullback in the SPY. What's going to bring that pullback? Well, it's going to be more likely some more relative weakness in some of the mega cap 8 names. Nvidia could pull back another $5 to $6, re-challenge 170. So you take a look at the Qs. Well, the volume looks okay. The relative performance of the S&P is underperforming. And once again, we're at a pivot resistance. I still think what we're going to see is a little rotation in the market. And the rotation that we're going to get, I think, is going to be maybe the underweighted MAGA 8 names. MSFT, first and foremost. Microsoft is coming into, while it is upticking today, let's take a gander. And I'm going to change this to a weekly chart. It sort of held support. It's still in a lower high, lower low mode. Volume is very weak. Relative performance, no bueno. So I think we could still, until we get the weekly or price structure above a weekly MA, Microsoft still stands a chance to see some relative weakness. I like Microsoft, but I don't like this pattern here. I need to see it either chop around, move a little bit better, and get the indicators in a more positive structure. So Microsoft, if there is a stock that might have some more relative weakness, it's Microsoft. Nvidia, like I just mentioned, it's got 8% cap weight to the S&P 500. It's in a weekly sell. It's lower high. It's lower low. It's under a lot of negative press because of this competition in the AI race war and the semiconductor and artificial intelligence with the new, Google product. There was a thing that came out the other day, and it wasn't a thing. It was an actual comment by Mark Benioff of Salesforce, who says he's been using ChatGPT for like 2 years, and then he used Alphabet's version, and he goes, it's night and day, and it's a game changer, and like that really helped support and what kicked in high gear. It kicked in high gear Google, which had an upside move. And then that explains why Salesforce CRM dumped, because Salesforce has a huge exposure and partnership with Nvidia. And that was what the whole hubbub was here. Now, whether I believe it or not, the bottom line is the volume still is good, and Salesforce is still a good company. But could it come back down more first? Yes, I'm still a fan of Salesforce, but right now I think it's tainted goods for a little while. And if we get a pullback in some of the mega cap stocks and some of the names in the software IGV sector, Salesforce is one that's probably going to come in a little bit more. AMZN, let's take a look at Amazon. Why isn't Amazon's not on my list short term right now? Because again, it's still in a weekly sell. There's the sell. It's still kind of forming that lower high. That's an inside range, and it might just stall here. So doesn't give me the. I need something to give me a little bit better tone before I buy it just today and end up. This is another stock that might have some more serious downside. Not serious downside, but just stall and keep the S&Ps and the overall market down. When I look at Meta, Facebook, this one, Mark Zuckerberg, this is one that's underperformed. And I really don't know a single fund or institution that's not in this trade and wants to buy more likely. But that doesn't mean, as you can see, it's a good recovery this week. And let me expand on that chart for you. Not that much, though. Come on, baby. Let's do it. We want to wrap this up. Just do a rapid fire one because I know we're going to start getting antsy about all the new trades that I'm looking at. So Meta's, it's lacking a PPS buy. It's lacking the volume. It's lacking the attention. So is it capable of pulling right back next week, pulling a zippity doodah back down and being in a consolidation range for a little while? I believe so. I would like to see a little bit more positive volume, like we made a bottom here. I just don't have it. 1 week recovery, especially going into the first week of December, we could see a pullback in Meta. So if you get a pullback in just those names, Microsoft, Meta, a little bit of Amazon stalls, you're going to get a SPY pullback. End of story. Now, that's my overall point of view of why I would say we're, take advantage of this rally. There's still a ton, a bazillion stocks that are breaking out to new highs that nobody's ever heard of or are paying attention to, in my humble opinion, or have I actually brought it to your attention? And the reason is because we're all looking at, and the media focuses on, and everyone's kind of looking on the same momentum trades, right? What is the momentum trade? The momentum trade is when everyone reads the same thing. It hits IBD 50 and retail traders are in it and everyone's in it and hedge funds are in it and option traders are in it and everyone focuses on that. Meanwhile, you're bending over to pick up maybe a penny or a dollar bill and then $100 bills flying over our head. So what I wanted to point out to us is we've got two subsectors that I feel that we could start to focus on, and I listed it as in my notes this morning to you guys. I said we want to focus on the AI ecosystem plays. So let's start there. The artificial intelligence ecosystem plays. So first and foremost, we're going to call it AI ecosystem slash data center. All right. So we know first and foremost what goes into a data center. Everyone's going to build. Press one if you pretty much have heard that we're going to start building data centers all over the world. And they're going to be bigger than, I don't know, Folsom football field. And they're going to be bigger than Soldier Field. And they're going to be bigger than, I don't know, the state of Texas. And I'm just joking about that last one. But many of you have probably heard that, I mean, that's what we're going to be building. They're bulldozing. They're making, again, an Intel plant in Arizona. And we just see all of this stuff, right? So, I mean, there's X with Grok. Yeah, right, Joe. But so everyone's got their own AI product. But so the point is that all the big boys, this is working. And if you don't think it's working, MongoDB used artificial intelligence, right? People want to know, how do we monetize? And that's what the news wants you to kind of worry about. Oh, these guys can't monetize the AI. Well, MongoDB pretty much monetized it. Picked up about, what, 5,000 new clients this year, according to their last two quarterly earnings reports, right? Snowflake, the Flakers, that's also broken out. They've monetized their ability to capitalize on AI. So, I mean, I'm only bringing a couple little tiny names to our attention. Obviously, we've analyzed this. I'm not a fan of Snowflake up here, by the way. It's a little overbought relative performance. It doesn't mean it can't go and surge next year or for the end of the year, but right here we are still in a weekly sell signal. It hasn't negated that. Now, I'm just trying to point out to you that I think the news shapes your mind. When someone like Barron's, which is owned by the Wall Street Journal, which is owned by I forget who, when they're putting out all this information, I'm sure they don't put out bad news all the time, but it's late news. I think there's a difference between short-term momentum, like catch a quick ride and get out, versus catch the base of a trade before it takes off and enjoy the whole ride. And that's what I think we ought to start looking at, is this AI ecosystem play. And that's just to say, if you think it's not making money and nobody's going to be able to monetize this, they're monetizing it, and it's going to be huge. And yes, maybe some people like Oracle are being bandblasted for spending too much money and having to borrow money to finance these billion and trillion dollar deals. But at the end of the day, they're still going to make money. So first and foremost, let me get rid of clear drawing set. I'm going to just remove old drawings. I'm going to get rid of all of this stuff. We don't need that many. We need no stinking trend lines. And then I'm going to change the studies and hit. Oh, come on. And then I'm going to go to studies, and I'm going to change this to edit studies to monthly persons pivots real quick. Because there's a difference between swing trades, option trades, binary gamble earnings trades, and longer term trades. So what I want to kind of focus in on here are what I think is the more stable trend trades that we should start to see develop over the next month or quarter as people start to work more money into the markets. The Fed cuts rates, money starts to say, hey, interest rates aren't the same. I can't get the same money. I've got all kinds of different plays that I could look at to see. I think there's more confidence. Hopefully we get, if the Supreme Court this month, there's going to be probably chatter about that as well. The Supreme Court could, I don't think they're going to take and strip the powers of the president for implementing tariffs, since already the tariffs are, there's already been trade negotiation that most countries are at least working with and happy with. So with that said, someone typed in, Andy typed in a bunch of stuff. Interesting conversation with my brother-in-law's sister told me she got a fairly new job at a company called Belimo in Danbury, Connecticut, has been there for about 2 months. Company is a major player in HVAC, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. And I'm going to get to HVAC, by the way. Let's see. The company staying in the building. This company staying in Switzerland, a large footprint in it is right now as a major market. They're also starting to get the AI sector as well. I wasn't sure where they were going to focus just yet. Yep, micronuclear plant. They're doing all that stuff as well. Wow. The state of Nevada, Wesley, you've been out of town for a while, I think. You just sent me that the state of Nevada. That's why I think the state of Nevada shot down DraftKings and I'm not sure if it's Robinhood, but those binary bets, they're called they're I don't know what you want to call them, event contracts. So the state of Nevada won't let people, the residents of Nevada, play the event games. I think that's what you're saying. Thanks for that. That I thought that news they were talking about that, like, I think last week as well. But thanks for that information. I think it's really cool that you guys are passing this information on. So I want to talk about what Andy, and I'm going to get to that in just a second. The reason Snowflake's up, just to prove to you that companies are monetizing AI. End of story. I mean, okay, these are two examples, but these are two big examples. The other one is a small company called Twilio, which we've brought to your attention. Twilio is not on my list right this second that I put out this morning. So I'm going to go through each one of the stocks that I put out this morning and why. I still like Twilio. It's got this little wedge pattern. Number one, the volume looks pretty supportive of a future rally. As you can see, we're starting to break out of that wedge pattern, but we have to draw a new line because it didn't break out yet, right? So the wedge, that doesn't mean we can't get 1 or 2 weeks of disappointment for everybody and then break out one more time for next year. Twilio is in that call center, and they are using AI, and they are monetizing it. They are making a profit. And if you can see down here, Profetto, dinero y dinero. So they've had actually 3 quarters of improved profitability. And so there's a few software companies that are actually taking over, taking a little bit of market share and making money. So the AI profitability is out there. All right, so let's go and clear drawing sets here, and I'll stay focused. I'm just going to start to go the AI data center. So let's start talking about the AI data center build. First and foremost, what goes into a data center? You got to buy the land. Okay, so someone's going to have permits. A city is going to collect some revenues on maybe that sale. So some real estate agent, by gosh sakes, Jones. I don't know which one, but in which city. But anyway, there's going to be some cash flow going into local communities because somebody is going to make some cash on the sale of the land. Let's start there. Second off, what else are we going to have happen? You're going to have to build construction. So construction, you're going to have concrete. Okay, there's a small company, AMRZ. What do? They do concrete, they do crushed rock, they do floors, wall, they have an EcoPack concrete, they do asphalt shingle. They're the second largest roofing company in the United States. Now, unfortunately, as you can see here, it's a fairly new IPO'd company, and you can see that the PPS buy signal is above pivot. So this is AMRZ. So this morning, I think I may have forgotten to post. No, it's there. It's right there. Here are a few of my AI data center build autonomous driving assist EV plays. So first one is Amrize. AMRIZE is the name of the company. AMRZ is the stock. And what do? Concrete, crushed rock, floors, walls, and they're also, the material helps to retain and dissipate heat. So what do data centers do? They generate heat. So whether it's from the electricity, whether it's from the computers, whether they're using super micro technology, with liquid cooling, these data centers are going to want that material. Whether they need it 5 years from now because technology improves is a different story, but they're going to want fire retardant roofs. They're going to want, the walls. That's kind of like what they want. Next stock. So this is one, obviously, you can tell it's not been around a long time, but we take a look at this company. If we're looking at two tailwinds for this company. Number one, it's fairly new. Number two, I don't think anybody knows about it. Number three, that's why the PPS is not giving, or the person's pivot study is not giving a bullish outlook because it hasn't done anything. So I think this will turn around in construction. This will also get another double duty tailwind because interest rates go down. We start to build, we start to refresh, we start to rebuild plants, we start to improve manufacturing here. This is not a swing trade. This is more of a longer term trade. This is one that is pretty much off the cuff for everybody. I know everyone wants fast money, make money immediately, but this is a stock that could easily double to triple in the next 18 months. So it's not going to be a small one. Next stock, JHX. This is called James Hardie. Now what they do is actually cement fire retardant siding. They do residential, commercial. This company, they've been profitable for like 4 years. They missed their earnings on Q3. So let's take a look at the daily chart here real quick. They missed their earnings for one of the very first time. Look at the volume though. How many times do I tell people when the market goes down and the volume doesn't, there's a big difference. This is a classic bullish convergence on James Hardie, JHX. So that everyone can see this. I mean, obviously you got a long way to go to Tiparillo to get to resistance for the year. This has been underwater. Let's double check the weekly charts here for you. I mean, if you wanted to buy something that wasn't overvalued, already got the Schnickers knocked out of it, wiped out some of the people that may have had too tight of a stops. This is one stock that is basing out according to the OBV, and my volume indicator also suggests this has got a huge bullish convergence. Let's change this to a monthly chart and go back through history. Oh, what is this? Old highs, lows, and it's a trading range. What do you think we might see out of this small $19 stock? At the very least, if I'm dead ass wrong and nobody ever uses their company to put in concrete pre-made retardant siding for commercial use for data centers, which by the way, they actually were supplying and helping to build the plant that Tesla did in Memphis, incidentally. Now, maybe the secret's out, maybe the secret isn't. I'm not quite sure because there's a lot of smart people that can follow this stuff better than I. There's research departments. I'm one guy. I cover a newsletter. I do a trade room. I manage a little money. I'm a jack of all trades. I don't focus on one stock. I didn't go to Princeton. I didn't get. I don't have an uncle that works at Goldman Sachs. And even though I did play lacrosse, I don't have that Ivy League pedigree that I would be hired by a Goldman Sachs to do research on just maybe 5 stocks, and that's what some of these guys are doing. These research analysts. So it's tough to be a trader and a research analyst. But I would have to say, thanks to my technical analysis and our products that we've put out with TradeStation, as well as the new product that's coming out, I'm able to find some of these deals and look into, well, what the hell do they do? I'm familiar with James Hardie, but here's the funny thing. I remember James Hardie. I thought it was like an apparel stock, an apparel maker for like motorbike people. That's what I thought James Hardie was at one point. I thought they were like an apparel company. Maybe it's close to it. Maybe it's spelt differently. But anyway, then when I went James Hardie, oh, that's a motorcycle club thing, and it's like don't the no, it's not. And then I kind of with the read up on it and said, well, this looks pretty amazing in the construction field. So what do you got there? Again, another double whammy. Lower interest rates also will help maybe construction, commercial buildings, local residential buildings as well, because they do both residential and commercial. So yes, they missed their earnings in the last quarter because we're not breaking a lot of ground yet on a lot of these data center builds yet. Okay, so these are two companies I think longer term, and yes, I may not in a timely fashion, but I will more likely be putting this out with more definitive trade ideas for the longer term. All right, so now the cat's out of the bag. In the quest that we have a lot of people, especially Andy, contributing. Andy, no offense, you stole my glory, brother. You got ahead of me there a little bit. You stole my glory. The whole thing about a commercial building, a data center, executive offices. Remember, if you have data centers, you got to have people that work those data centers. You don't want to make sure the computers are still running. You want to make sure they're operating, the lights are blinking. You know, they're processing the data. So you need people to work, and they don't want to be working in heat. They want to be working in air conditioning. So now we need HVAC. And HVAC for a lot of data centers, as well as new home construction, by the way. We got a couple plays for you. WSO. Now, this is an interesting. It's called Watsco. W-A-T-S. I said W-S-O. Watsco. It just got kayaked. Kayaked is a street language term for it. Got knocked over with a lead pipe in the head. So basically, you're not buying a high. You're buying a lower valuation. And what I like, it was against an old resistance that broke out. It came back and tested it. Look at the quarterly pivots down in here and the annual pivots. This, to me, and the weekly and the monthly and all that good stuff looks pretty dynamic. So it's already had a massive sell-off. Let's change this to a weekly chart. Look at the volume. Market goes down, volume goes up. What does that tell you? Somebody got shanked and nobody's really selling. They're actually buying this stock. If I had any courage and insight and no fear, and if I didn't have the, I guess the insights to that I could see that the market's due for a little, might pull back a little bit, I'd be buying both hands of this today. However, it is a $339 stock, which limits your capital of how much of that stock do you want to be exposed to. One of the things that's interesting about this particular company, they not only do home and small businesses, but they also have exposure to a small company called, I think, Carrier, by the way. So some of you guys may not know that. So let's take a look at another AC company, and I think that's why today, if you're, what goes into a data center? Well, concrete for one, you got to build it, right? The land, we can't really, that would really take a lot of due diligence and a lot of research to find out what real estate company is making all the cash on selling land to these data centers. At the least, you could just say that money's going to flow into the local communities. So, that's going to pull into the market overall and help boost GDP. That's the only takeaway that I have for that. Right, that's the total tailwind that we get. CARR is Carrier. Same kind of story. Look at the volume. I like Wasco is a little bit better technically. This is a little bit cheaper, and it will form a potential. It's not quite a high closed doji whatsoever, but I do like the fact that it stopped dead ass on a dime on my green pivot, and the volume's all right. So I need a little bit of work here. That's why I didn't say buy Carrier just today. But this is another one that's come in. There are other names in this space, but the big ones, the big guys, one of the biggest provider of parts and service is, again, Watsco. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they're one of the largest in the country. So we definitely have, for home and small businesses, Watsco, 27 times PE, 3.5% dividend yield on Watsco. WSO is that symbol. Carrier also is in it's a $54 stock. It's not bad. Lennox International, LII, more residential. When I say near a 52-week low, I think we can go back and say it's more like a 100-week low or 90-week low. This hasn't been this cheap in a long time. I'm not a big fan of the volume pattern relative to the previous two. That's why it's not on your list. But I just thought I'd cover, to Andy's point about what goes into a data AI center, and what's going to happen soon is you're going to need HVAC business. And I mean, believe it or not, when you're building a building as big as a football field and more, you need a lot of AC capability to run that, to cool, and then you have offices. This is a small company called Train. Many of you probably either have a Train. They're expensive for residential. It's closer to the highs. I'm not going to buy it. But be that as it may, I think for the AI ecosystem trade, you're going to have something in there that builds these buildings. All right. So let's get into a little bit more for AI data center plays. All right, besides Nvidia, besides Oracle, besides Broadcom, besides the, I guess, dinner table stocks, everybody knows those names. They're like beaten down the path to like no tomorrow. Everybody, AMD is a household name now. Palantir, the cab drivers know about Palantir, or the Uber drivers. Everybody knows about that, but I don't know if people would put together James Hardie or an Amorize or Watsco, or how about this company here, LYB? This is something I keep on my list in my industrials, and it's Lionel Bassi. I'm not pronouncing it right. I know that it's Lloydnell, it's Leidenell, it's tomato tomati. It's LYB, for the love of God, person. Just put it out, spit it out, man. They make polymers, plastics, resins, polypropylene. They do. They also used to, and this is why they got whacked and walloped to the downside, because they've eliminated and gotten out of the fossil fuel chemical conversion. They would convert crude into gasoline. They also do. This is very interesting, so pay attention. Not just food packaging, like plastics, like the little grocery bags, but they also do, oh, drum roll, please, car parts. And also, what is that propylene needed for, and the resins to use, the polymers? If you're putting in a data center, what do you connect one computer to the other? Are you using copper wire nowadays, or are they using fiber optics? They're using fiber optics. So basically, you need fiber optic cable cover. Oh, so that chemical. So Lionel Bassi, if you want to talk about a stock undervalued, nobody's talking about, is it needed? As you start to build more and more data centers, as people buy more and more Nvidia racks and GPUs, and whether it's from Broadcom, whether it's from wherever, they all have to be connected, and they're going to be increasing production of a chemical and the polymers for plastic. So Lionel Basel, LYB, is another stock. Let's go back. That's a weekly chart. Let's go back and take a look at the monthly chart. Now, this is probably something I should have done like a month ago, but look, if we did it a month ago, we would have taken it in the keister. The market's got a double bottom. These are the names that I kind of think are smart now, because we were all focused on AI, we're all focused on Nebius and software and the Astera Labs, and and we did well with those calls. I'm pretty sure. I know for a fact. And so now we get into looking at this longer term chart, and you go, are they still in business? Well, a lot of their business was done because of processing and using the chemicals for processing fossil fuel. They got out of that business. Now they're focused entirely on plastic. And if we get car parts, and by the way, what is another thing that they're going to be using plastics in? Drum roll, please. Optimus Prime robotics. So they're made out of metal and plastic. So you're going to need a lot more plastic in the future. Lionel Bassi might be one that is to be keeping not on our watch list, but to look at as soon as we get a buy signal, we're going to be jumping on LYB. So this is the AI trade. So if I was to build my own ETF and say, okay, I want my own futuristic ETF for data center robotics in the future, what parts do I need? Eaton for one, Emerson Electric for two, chemicals, plastic makers, manufacturers, and then there's another one here that's kind of interesting, and everybody knows this market, and a good friend of the Person's Planet family, Ruth. You guys remember Ruth Watson, her husband Jim, just wonderful people. And I can just tell you, I brought this to them one day and we were at the World Money Show, and I think probably sometime in, I don't know, it was probably No, it was a long time ago. We got to go back long, but they split. So he worked at Dow Chemical as an engineer. He's like, I'll never do. And it was funny. He was very nice. He was such a great guy. They went on our financial cruises. Many of you guys might have met Jim and Ruth. Jim passed away. It's sad. Ruth is still with us, and she's doing quite well. So the bottom line is Dow is something that Dow Chemical, people who go, yeah, that's a dog, John. Like, move on. It's a dog. I understand it's a dog, but they produce silicone for immersion of cooling fluids, which helps reduce power consumption and heat. They also do, in some of their other products, one of their specialty products is for thermal management solutions. It dissipates heats from high density GPUs and AI data centers. Hello. And then most importantly, they also make fiber optic cable cover with two products. It's called Acceleron and Endurance. Those two products, those are the compounds that they use to make fiber optic cable cover. So Dow Chemical, if you're going to start increasing data centers, you're going to start to increase demand. So that's why I got Dow Chemicals. This is what we call the AI data center ecosystem, right? So a long time ago, I would bet that maybe that's why the cat's out of the bag, and we had a little bit of mini run up in here. If you take a look at this daily chart one last time, it's been scraping the bottom. The bigger the base, the bigger the breakup. I would have to say this stock might be suppressed going into the December 19th option expiration as a tax loss credit harvesting situation. And then into next year, this year's dog is going to be next year's darling. And I don't know if I'm going to wait for next year, probably start establishing positions in this particular trade. Something happened this week. It was magical. It's not the fact that it's the holiday week and people woke up and decided to buy Dow. I think people started to say, hey, listen, we've got overvaluation names. We've got speculative stuff in quant computing, speculative stuff with people getting ripped a new rear end. In the crypto world, we got speculative stocks in a lot of the major subsectors. We've seen that happen, and nobody's paying attention to the low-lying fruit, which might see that rotation and the reversal. So if you're looking for good value, like a Warren Buffett guy might do, and you're looking for demand that might increase, these are the names that I think make sense in that regards. In the EV area, there's a small company that also, I think you guys might have remembered this small parts company called Delphi Automotive. You guys remember that name, Delphi Automotive? Yeah, well, they changed their name and they revamped their company, and it's now called Aptiv PLC, APTV. And what do? They make wire harnesses, and they also now expanded into software for driver assist autonomous driving vehicles. They are actually an official supplier for Stellantis, GM, Ford, and drumroll, please, they are a supplier to Tesla. So in the ecosystem, it kind of sold off. It's given us, by all rights, I want to see better looking volume and better looking relative performance. Maybe the cat's out of the bag of this one. But if you can see this big old breakout on the weekly basis, trend, consolidation, pullback, and we should see a big launch going into in the new year. That volume is just too damn impressive to ignore. These are what some of the stocks that came up on my radar screen, and on our new, which I can't really introduce to you because it's not even ready. It's got some bugs, but we're working on them. And after we get done today, I'll be working on that with the programmers. So the cool thing is, this is kind of like finally state of the art that I think that you guys, hopefully there's only like 4 people in the room. So I probably maybe 10. But I think on the recording, this will go out and it'll be a nice way that people can look and review some of these names down the road. So when we are done, I will label this particular recording and probably get a little bit of traction out of it. So we've got a few of these names here. There's one last one that I think that as it's and I don't know if it's the EV, autonomous driving, or lower interest rates and people getting into newer car parts things, but Global Foundries, GFS, Global Foundries is a dog of a dog of a. I don't know if they're worse or better than Intel, but they're starting to capture a huge volume spike. Global Foundries, and what they do is they do semi-analog chips for not just smartphones but aerospace, defense. They do Bluetooth, that's Internet of Things, IoT. It's considered or called. They also do, if you've had a problem in your car and you left your sunroof open and it rained and the rain got on your seats and it ruined your car seat sensors because some numbnut thought that people, when you sit on your car and you don't have your seatbelt on, it's sensors and the ding goes on your car. And so you need that because, the government thinks that everyone's a total idiot and it saves lives. And so when you drive down the street doing 15 miles an hour in a school zone and you don't have your seatbelt on, you're just going to the local store 2 blocks from your house and you get pulled over for not wearing a seatbelt. It's pretty much a shakedown. Anyway, to keep people engaged in click it or ticket, that whole program that went on, car seats have sensors. These guys, Global Foundries, make the actual chips for the sensors of those car seats, the airbags, as well as they're using it for a lot of the cars, and they are a supplier for WAMU. So that was kind of interesting to note that they're, as we start to expand into EV, as we start to get into not EVs, autonomous driving, which is more real than most people realize. This has got a huge volume print, and that's not a daily chart, gang. That's a weekly chart. So this is one that I think is going to need more time. These are not swing trades. These are not momentum fast money trades. These are building positions over time that next year I would expect to see double and triples out of some of these names. All right. So I wanted to put that out there for you guys. Now, I think I covered, besides looking at, there's one other name that I think we can kind of take a look at, or two other names. And I'm going to just go to one is a very, very, very small cap name. This one's sneakier than a fart in church to find this guy. I had to do a little bit of due diligence on this one. UWMC. I don't know if you guys know this one. If you're familiar with Singapore and Malaysia, this is a company that actually makes engine compartments and components. They got a 25 or I think another 15 years on their contract with Rolls-Royce, not the cars, the airplane engines. They actually make the fan cases for the Rolls-Royce airline engines. This company right there. It's a $5 stock. What else do they do? Interesting. Oh, by the way, Watsco has a joint venture. It is Carrier. I think I did mention. I just want to confirm. Watsco, the HVAC air conditioning company, they have a joint venture with Carrier. So if you want to buy Carrier, you're kind of buying Watsco or vice versa. Anyway, I just thought I'd interject that. Back to UMW Holdings. UWMC is the symbol. It's a $5 and I don't know, what is it today? Damn, it's a 587 stock. Damn. While the volume's not leading us, I don't know if it's relatively all that relative. It's not relatively known. It's not a very popular name. In fact, I had to do a little bit of research on it. I don't like to buy sub $5 stocks by any stretch of the imagination. But one of the things that was interesting is they also are the auto company that has a sole distributorship for Toyota and Lexus in Malaysia. But what was really interesting is that they have that joint contract with Rolls-Royce for the fan cases for their airplane engines, because there was just this little air show in Dubai, and Boeing got a whole bunch of more new contracts. So, okay, great, Boeing, build the plane though. And so did Airbus. And guess who uses, and they had orders for a bunch more Airbuses. Airbus used Rolls-Royce engines in their planes. And guess what? More engines, more parts, more need for this company to make guaranteed employment and airline parts for Rolls-Royce. So there's a small cap. If you're thinking, how do people find into small cap stocks? Do you think that this is a momentum trade, or do you think maybe this might be a little bit longer than a quick option trade. This is not a quick option trade. This is going to have to be more of a momentum trade longer term. But it's starting to build on the monthly chart. The volume looks pretty. I love this little pattern where it pops, it pulls back, and it's getting ready to accelerate. So again, a monthly hammer is a very positive. I would just hope that, I don't know if there's going to be enough of a pullback here. Next week, I'll come up with a listing of these names, the entries, the risk. Obviously, it's a low risk entry. It was kind of like finding it or looking at Cleveland Cliffs, which, by the way, is both a lower interest rate play as well as an AI play. This is Cleveland Cliffs, and I don't know if Luis Ramirez is in the room. I've always said that this is a longer term trade. I'm staying with it. Market probed the 16. The volume is insane. The volume looks more insane at the end of the month, and the pattern open close looks dynamic. Cleveland Cliffs is definitely going to continue to be on my longer term holding list, not just a swing trader. It's like a cheap option, or an expensive option, if I might add, at this point in time. Cleveland Cliffs also is a supplier of sheet goods to the automotive sector. They also supply to, you're going to love this one. Guess who Cleveland Cliffs supplies their pellets, steel pellets for? Appliance companies. Well, okay. Well, we're going to get into that because that's the lower interest rate plays next. So I think I kind of covered a little bit of what I'm looking at, other than, listen carefully, let me disclose this, other than the dinner table headline news stocks that we all know about, which are the Mega 8 names, the hyperscalers, which is again Google, Amazon, Meta. We also are looking at the other names out there to help us out. And I think now we should start to see the underground. Everyone was buying the name, and everyone wanted to be in the like the Nibius and again Astera Labs, right? And the manga and the software. Now it's time to see if we are building these and breaking ground on these data centers, and we get the Fed to lower interest rates. How is that going to impact the market and the economy? It should bode quite well. So these are the companies that should benefit from that. So those are just some of the plays there that, again, besides looking at Amazon, Microsoft, Nebius, Oracle, again, is still a play. ORCL, it's under pressure today. I think it's option expiration related, end of month related. It's not participating kind of with today's rally, but it's holding. We bought in at a pretty decent price per the newsletter, and it's holding that old resistance. So Oracle is still, if we get a chance to, if it does come in a little bit more next week, open lower, trade higher, boy, Oracle should be on our plan. The other one is Texas Instruments. We've long abandoned Texas Instruments. Notice there is one company that I'm just not engaging with, and it's called Intel. But again, Texas Instruments starting to break out. Texas Instruments, another one that makes, again, the semis that are designed for analog semiconductors. Their competition is Analog Device, ADI. Their competitor is, again, NXPI. We've traded that before in this room. But I think in the content of automation and the whole thing of going into using semiconductors for pretty much everything we need, including not just cars, but houses and what goes into the semi of a house of an appliance. This is a company that should bode well in the next. This is not an AI play. This is more of a expanded economic play. I still like the volume in here. Let's double check something, by the way. Volume's not picked up, but we are. Look at that little pattern. What would you call that? I'd call that a little high close doji. Yes, I would. So I don't know if I want to give this a whole lot of room, but I will, only because of the market rallied a little much this week, and I think we get a little pullback, and the volume wasn't great, and the relative performance isn't outperforming quite yet. It held its monthly annual pivots. I love that. That's just fabulous. And I think this is another, if you're looking for a stock that's been abandoned and nobody wants to buy, this is a stock that's going to have some improved performance in the next, I think, quarter to the next 6 months. All right. that would kind of conclude. I guess I could look at one other software which is affiliated with, again, it's synonymous with Nvidia. It's called Synapsys. It's got literally its butt kicked. I mean, everyone was like all about Synapsys, and you just don't buy breakouts. And again, Synapsys right now, it's a little doji there, just like Texas Instruments, high close doji on a weekly basis, by the way. The volume needs to improve a little bit. I think too many people got burned on it, but it's going to require maybe another week or so. If we can just get a mild pullback, this will hit the newsstand shelves and the newsletter and have a little participation in it. Now, not everyone's going to be able to buy a $400 stock. I get that, because most of the stocks that we kind of like are getting awful expensive here, right? So we got to kind of now shave down and filter out which is the one that's going to have the best momentum, and again, which one's going to move first, the fastest, and the most. So that's the hard part of this job. I think we'd start looking at unusual option activity, but Synapsys is one of the top players that we should be looking at as the AI trade winds up into the next quarter. So we've got a couple of other little tiny plays here. I know this like doesn't end. We got for autonomous driving, and it's already broken out again. Of course it did. Why would it wait for me to put an actual trade rec out? I did the research. This one's called Ouster, Ouster, Tomato. I don't know. I don't care what it's called. OUST is the name of the company. They make eye sensors for EVs. Now, the bad news is they are not, I repeat, they are not, I do not believe they are a supplier to Tesla, but they are a supplier for other companies. Stellantis, Ford, and I believe other car manufacturers use them. So Ouster, it's up a little bit today, but it's not really, I don't call that really a big deal. So we're not buying the breakout. If I was going to buy anything, I'm buying the pullback. This is a company that, as of like October 28th, so many companies we just had this big long trend. It was just a breakdown, and they're giving us a good base. So hopefully we get another week or a couple days of a pullback in here, and we can buy against what I would say fair value. And this is a smaller priced or lower priced name that should have a lot more upside, especially with drones, EVs, and autonomous driving and driverless vehicle expansion. So Ouster is one in that regards. Okay, so I think I've covered everything I wanted to. We had Aptiv PLC, Dow Chemicals, Ouster, Lionel Bassi. We've got James Hardy. We got Amriz, and again all the other cast of characters out there, such as we talked about Global Foundries. We talked about, again, Nvidia. Let me just go and review NVDA one more time with you. Nvidia, I suspect, just to shake everyone because it didn't recover off of the declining MAs, just to get the confidence level and just to shake everybody out one more time, is probably the 170, 160, might have a 167. Just tackle that little low that we made this week. Just challenge it one more time. It just hasn't based out enough. So if you haven't been in Nvidia, or if you were and you got out of some stock and you're looking for the pullback, this is the pullback. Again, I think we get another chance at it somewhere in this range. So if I told you I would place open orders at starting with around 169, that's probably where I would tell you to go, with 169, 168, something like of that magnitude. I mean, there is a shot on fear or some kind of impending doom disaster. It gets into the 160s. Buy it with both hands. It doesn't matter what the news is saying about, Google's going to put them out of business, because that's a crock of what. They've cooked their books, and another crock of what. The one thing that could hurt this stock is that Trump says, no, you can't sell any watered down chips to China, and I don't think we're there. All right, so I think that kind of concludes NBIS and data center software build. Nibius still has a little bit of shot of pulling back a little more. We want to kind of focus there. So Oracle, Palantir still important. Tesla still very important. TSLA. So obviously they're the king of autonomous driving and EVs, but also don't forget battery storage. I mean, the list goes on, and robotics. So Tesla, if anything, if we get a pullback or a stall, a pause, you got the first week of December's always got people scratching their heads. So some kind of news is going to more likely affect that. I don't know if I would chase any of these names right this second. I'm hopeful for a pullback, and there's always another way of trading. If we don't get the pullback, that's buy some now and then start to scale in and hope there's the dip, and then put the orders in for lower prices. But those are kind of like my big names that I'm looking for in the AI kind of trade, as well as the autonomous driving and data center build out. So, again, you got again, not to forget your Amazon, Microsofts, and all that, but hopefully I covered that at the beginning of the video of what I'm expecting those to come down. All right, let's talk about lower interest rate plays. We've got, again, Leggett & Platt, home furnishing. We had Lazy Boy. Now, Lazy Boy came out and said, yeah, we're selling a lot of sofas, and that's great. And then these guys, not only does Leggett & Platt, which you have already exposure to, Leggett & Platt should just be a double whammy with not only autonomous driving, by the way, because they do make the car seats. So if we get that going for us, that might be something that's good. But also we get Leggett & Platt in furniture. So besides making aircraft seats and besides making car seats or materials for the cushions for those, also bedding and furniture making. You want to talk about manufacturing in the U.S.? Look at the volume. What's the agenda with the United States current administration? Build, baby, build right here in America. Bring manufacturing. Well, they don't have to bring manufacturing. They are manufacturing. And I think this is just one of the underperformed stocks that's going to need more time. But it's doing well since we brought it to your attention, I don't know, back in October, I think it was. So Leggett & Platt is still in there. I don't know. I think I may have forgotten to throw that one in there this morning in my list of things. But I will just point out to you, there's a few more items to take a look at. So let's take a look at a few more of these are a few of my favorite things. In ordering stuff, there's a couple names. It dawned on me that Luis I think Luis Ramirez mentioned a couple weeks ago, he might have had Texas Instruments on his eyes, and maybe a small company called International Paper for packaging and making boxes. IP is going to have, by the way, a weekly high close doji, right? So IP at pivot support, that big green line, looks pretty impressive to me. But there's another company out there that's one of their competitors that's taking over a little bit more. And this sounds stupid. I had to double check. It's called Smurfit Westrock. They do paper packaging products. They are the competitor to IP. And while the volume doesn't look that great here on, again, the weekly chart, if we go back and take a gander at the monthly, oh, come on, don't fail me now. Let's get this done. The reason this stock is down and the volume is down is they merged and bought a company out. So they're actually now all free and clear of their debt structure. And this is a company that, as we start to see expansion in shipping, and so what would give us the first clue that we're going to start to see increased packages and shipping? First off, you could take a look at Amazon, and you could go, it's going to be Christmas. We know that's going to happen. But you can also take a look at Union Pacific, NSC, Norfolk Southern, and start looking at some of these rails starting to break up. If the rails are breaking up, that's probably one of the better indicators, JBHT, that we're starting to see the rails break up. And this is JB Hunt. There's ODFL, Old Dominion Freight Line. That has not taken off. They had a little bit of a problem. I think they got some legal exposures, but that's a different story. We don't have to address that right this second. But you had JBHT and then CHRW. Hold on one second. CHRW for logistics. What these guys do, this is CH Robinson. You guys know this company. It's been around forever. Look at the volume. It's a breakout mode. They're a logistics. They're the ones you call and say, hey, I need this shipped here and I need this put there. If you're going to start to ship parts in a data center and you got chips being made in California and Silicon Valley and they got to get shipped to Tennessee, they're going to get flown by UPS, they're going to get flown by FedEx, or they're going to get shipped if they're mass quantities, right? So you need the packaging and you're going to be transporting a lot of stuff. So I'm just saying that we're starting to see manufacturing being created and will be needed. So the good news is we are have already seen the transports improve. And I'm not just talking about JETS, the airlines flying people all over the world, but that's the airline sector ETF, which is going to give you a monthly high close doji. We did have American Airlines. I'm sorry, we got stopped out. Yes, I probably should have put the stop and re-entered, but Delta Airlines, a lot of the airline sector stocks are also improving here, guys. Are going to have, again, a monthly high close doji on Delta Airlines. So, and volume is breaking up. So we've got some really good things in the transports. And if you're a Dow theorist, this is what's really exciting here. If you're a Dow theorist, you should be doing backflips, because right now we're finally getting the confirmation, volume precedes price, that the economy is expanding because the transports are moving, helped by not just airlines and Southwest Airlines and discounters, but by rails, planes, trains, and automobiles, which in this case would be truckers, okay? So we're starting to see the aspect of the Dow theory supporting the fact that we should have some really strong tailwinds going forward. Knowing that the market's been tricky and treacherous, it should sell off and slap everybody in the face first and then take off without everybody. So the transports look good. And if you're transporting something, you got to be transporting something that's probably in a box. So boxing and box and paper packaging products should do well in this environment. So Smurf, Westrock, don't ask me to pronounce it. I apologize. The symbol's SW, for the love of God. There it is. That or IP. Now it's kind of like the volume looks better for IP. It's better well known, but I think Smurfit Westrock might have more exposure for some of the companies in Silicon Valley, and I got to do a little bit more due diligence on that one. All right. So we have a couple other little things that I wanted to bring out to you. In Latin America, in the financial field, this is really weird. This is really, everyone's heard of Mercado Libre, Meli, M-E-L-I. It's a small little, I don't know, what is that, $2,000 stock. It's out of reach of everyone. But this company right there is founded by, I think, a major venture capitalist that started in Brazil. They're in Colombia, as not in like Columbus, Ohio, but they're in Colombia, as in South America, Colombia. They're also in Mexico, and they offer, and it is in a breakout mode. And those countries are seriously on fire, despite what you want to hear on the news about the global economy. The South American, Mexican economy is doing quite well. If you wanted to have solar power, if you wanted to have AI data centers, you got a whole new capital area in Latin America, which should go off the charts. So new holdings, NU, it's not a we may have missed the move here, but again, that's a monthly chart, and it's a new company, but the expansion and the price structure is probably looking, in my humble opinion, if I just wanted to look at trend consolidation, and now it isn't an official breakout, I believe this is a stock that if we can get a pullback in the next week or so to maybe that old high or these opens, you want a little bit exposure into maybe that area, which I think is going to be, they do online banking, and this is I think they're going to give Mercado Libre a little, and Sander Bank a little run for their money. I don't know if I threw that in there. There's one other financial company that helps finance for autos and personal loans, and they do risk assessments and expands access to credit. And it already did break out, and it's called UPST, Upstart. So in the lower interest rate environment, Upstart should start to see. Now, this is the monthly chart. They liquidated the crap out of it, but look at this now on the short term, on the weekly and the dailies. Interesting pattern, and we are going to form a little bit of a high close doji. So this one Upstart, and at the very least, if I'm wrong and it's only not going to break out and do a double into next year, and it only goes back and tests the upside resistance of the range, I mean, that's 92 and the stock's trading at 44. So you go do the math, that's a double. So I hope I did put in, I thought I did, I could be wrong. I thought I put in, did I put it in our list today that I put out there? Well, if I didn't write it down, but Upstart is one. So I wanted to cover Leiden Albasi. I wanted to cover our build out of AI, our software. Again, I think speculative, and there's a lot of stocks out here that are not overvalued right now, that are undervalued. That if there is just this very word called rotation, if people are afraid of overvalued stocks and they were looking for deals that might have exposure to upside potential profits that have been positive cash flow companies, if that's the buzzword, which everyone wants to see a company and make money, right? And these are names that are getting that attention, that are not getting the investment attention. With lower interest rates, people get out of T-bills. These are the things that have a strong potential. There's also, again, we can go with our foreign friends and go with Baidu, which again is related with EV and autonomous driving in not just Europe, but also not just China, but also in Europe, right? I think, if I'm not mistaken, Lyft made an announcement that they were working with Baidu and other companies under their umbrella. The other one is, again, Alibaba. Still a fan, obviously. It's not going anywhere very fast. Probably pull back and slap people one more time in the face. Trend, little consolidation. We should break out. It's probably going to be an end of the year into a new year trade. Look to buy a dip in Alibaba. PDD, Pidudu, or whatever it's called, is Timu. Lower interest rates, expansion of credit availability in China, easing of tariffs and trade negotiation and trade deals with China and the US, as well as consumers' demand for cheap products. I want something, like, I don't want to buy Lululemon. I'll buy the same thing for 19 bucks. It might not last as long, but hell, I don't go to the gym but once a year anyway. So, hey, I'll look good for 19 bucks. I believe the volume here speaks for itself on this particular stock, a new high breakout. This is one that I would like to see a little bit of short-term upside, like another week or two on that pullback, and maybe get into about the 112 area. So as you can see, I'm not buying this today, but PDD is definitely one on the longer term scale in related to China. So we still have that. The other day we traded Reddit, bought it low, sold it high, looking for a pullback. Today it's going back up, testing that 220 area. Still got strong support around the. If we do get a pullback, we're going to get a pullback. There's a gap, a little teeny itsy bitsy spider gap down there, looking for that to get filled. We'll reassess that. Taking a look at Reddit. What do? Well, they have trading communities. What else do? They have data. What else do? They have AI that they've applied with their software, and they can target their consumers and their whatever they're called, the Redditites. I don't know what they're called. Mennonites, the Redditites. I don't know, whatever they're called. I don't know. I'm joking around. We're trapped in a little bit of a trading range from older resistance and extend to the right, but this is definitely a growth company. The volume's not impressing me right now, which tells me it's going to pull back, and I will buy that pullback, bottom line. So Reddit's still on my radar screen. These are all names that are going to go between the ones that I covered first are longer term. Reddit might be a swing trade. It's a momentum play. It gets a big run up and then it fails, or it gets a big run up and it pauses, a big run up, and it fails. So it's not something you hold on to, in my humble opinion, right now. It's more of a, we're going to trade this with either options or momentum. But get quick $20, $30 pops, get the hell out, look for a reset. But Reddit should bring some fun and excitement and maybe hopefully some fast money to offset some of these higher holding period type stocks. Okay. So then we have, besides Reddit, I think I got a text by one of our members who said, hey, in Nevada doesn't want people trading or playing event, I don't know, binary bets on football, which is like Robinhood, Interactive Broker, other companies, DraftKings. What's interesting is all of a sudden, guess what happened? Flutter on that news, it bottomed out and is getting an upside pop. And so is DKNG, DraftKings, which has been under pressure. And then today it's got that follow-up. The relative performance on DraftKings improved and the volume spiking. If I put a gun to my head, I'm going with Flutter because of the international exposure and the fact that they're the parent company of FanDuel. So that's the one that I would be more impressed with to see the recovery. The volume here, it pulled back lower than the old swing low, and the volume didn't even touch it. So that tells me that this was maybe at the very least, you go and say maybe there's a 50% recovery, or the gap gets filled up here, and we could see an upside. Back and fill, look for the turn, and we get over this pivot structure, buy the pullback or buy the breakout. Don't buy it today. But this is another one. Flutter is definitely under back in play to the upside. Then we've got again your staple high dividend players. Your high dividend players. Estee Lauder, Louis Vuitton, which owns Sephora. You got Elf. You got Ulta Beauty. I brought this to your attention so many times. This is just going to sit here until God knows when. But when it does break out, it's going to probably have to wait for another earnings. And when they come out, it's probably going to be a 20% upside, 18% surprise to the upside, because everyone doesn't even care about watching Estee Lauder. But Estee Lauder is still in the wheelhouse for consumer. I think it's a consumer staple, not a discretionary product. Pepsi is, I don't know, I love Ruffles have ridges. But, it's taken a little too long, and I'm the only one that likes it, apparently. There's no volume leading prices. So if I've gotten my ill-mannered way of overhyping a stock, I would say small, medium profit, jump out. I'm not impressed with the volume over the last, especially for the pre-holiday, which we should have seen a lot better volume, whether it's a daily or masked by weekly. We should have seen a lot better volume, and it's just not there, guys. It's a nice trend. It might pull up, and it probably get up into the 152, 155 range. It does look like a head shoulders pattern, but we bought it good, but it just didn't buy it. It's just a dead waste of money. It's a lot of cash. And for a stock that might just sit here when you might have other names that I've put out that could perform a lot better, faster. So Pepsi is just, it's okay, but it is a high dividend yielder, and it should be all right. The other one that popped up is, I think Bonnie should like this, asked me a long time ago about Bristol Myers. I thought it was dead money, but it's starting to improve a little bit. The volume's picking up. The whole biotech world, and everyone wants drugs, and now that we've got the relationship with the Trump administration, get the right one, John. The Trump administration with a lot of drug companies to lower their prices. Maybe Bristol Myers can start to see some, maybe some attention in investors. I think it's okay. It's a dividend yielder. It's not phenomenal, but I think it is generating. By the way, I think it's a monthly. I think I got it on my monthly watch list for a new, fresh monthly high close doji. And yes, there she blows. So it's a mild one. So you take a look at this and you go, all right, $50 down to 42. It might maybe $58, $60. Oh, right back to where it started from back in April. That's the odds are it should pop back there in time. Next year, the yearly, not monthly, the yearly pivot resistance is about that same objective. So this is another one that's the volume's okay. I mean, it made a higher double bottom on better volume. And so now this double bottom might have a chance to see liftoff. Bristol Myers definitely is a low risk trade, pays a dividend, and it should give some support for those looking for maybe a balanced portfolio, if that makes sense to anybody. I know there's a few more out there, but again, this week I put out a couple trades. I know that we had just a hell of a move in EXAS, which was Abbott's Exact Sciences for their colon cancer screening. I think Abbott put the bid in to buy them out, but ILMN, Jesus Christ, ILMN, all right? I can't pronounce it. I'm beating myself up trying to put this information out fast for you guys. Anything with medical and cancer screening is the rave. And I think with biotech, as well as the cancer screening, and now with fast tracking under the Trump administration, this should be a pretty hot and heavy, because we've all heard how AI should be helping biotech, blah, blah, blah. Investor demand is starting to kind of pick up. Not buying it today. I will be looking at this. I think we could get a pullback if the market shakes out Illumina. So my job is, these are maybe 30 stocks out here, which is not a lot for, I mean, some guys have like 50 stocks in their portfolio, and but we want to target the stuff that's going to work and the momentum that's now, then and where we could see improvement in profitability and positive cash flow. And I think some of those names are there. I also put out CPRI earlier this week, talked about Capri, and I know we threw out an email alert about it. What's interesting is it never dawned on me, and I think months ago, maybe back, I think somewhere back in September, October, I said, keep your eye on Capri, and we got busy and, had other things going on, and lost track of it. Not a big deal, but Capri, what was interesting is, under the Biden administration, Coach wanted to buy Michael Kors out. There was an actual offer on the table. And it doesn't make any sense to me, but the Biden administration was so, I don't know, they were so, like, they hated corporate America, I think, because they would not let that merger go through. And one of the reasons they cited is because they thought it would be a monopoly. Do you know how many clothing companies are out there? You got Ralph Lauren. These guys are going underwater. No one gives a rat's ass about Jimmy Choo's shoes. You're telling me that Coach is a purse and Jimmy Choo's is shoes and Michael Kors. What monopoly are you talking about, guys? No offense. If you voted for Biden, you really should say, well, who did he select as like the leading of these departments? Because they really had little low intelligence and bad track records. I mean, really. And to sit there and say, and I don't want to insult anybody in the room, but I'm just saying that administration was horrible for business. And everyone says it, but they just say it nicer. I'm just putting it blunt. And to sit there and say that you're going to not let a merger go through on a retail apparel company. There's American Eagle Outfitters, there's Gap, there's Guess Jeans. There's a lot of struggling people. Vera, whatever her name is. I mean, the list goes on. There's Levi's. There's, the list goes on and on. There's VF Corp, which there's Birkenstock. If you really wanted to have, okay, maybe that's a foreign company, but by the way, there's just too many companies out there. So now that Biden's gone and his administration is trying to wither away or slither away somewhere, all I could probably say is that Capri, maybe the holiday sales, and this could be back, the merger and acquisition could be back on the table. And it's not just me that believes it, it's somebody else believes it, because they've been buying and accumulating this stock. This stock went nowhere sideways, but that volume went up. And I'll bet you somebody thinks that maybe I dropped the ball on this one, but boy, somebody thinks, look at the volume. It's the highest it's ever been. That goes back since, I don't know, years. So I think Capri, maybe that merger acquisition could be back on the table. Two things you could do. You could buy like March or April or May call options out of the money. Odds are if they put a cash offer, it's going to go for something probably in the 30 to 35 range. But something looks kind of special there with the volume trend on Capri Holdings. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. At the very least, they're going to have exposure with holiday sales, my guess. High end Maybe Jimmy Choo's offering some good deals at Saks Fifth Avenue or needless markup. I'm just teasing about that. But after Christmas comes New Year's, and people want to get dressed up. So you're going to start to see maybe some higher end stores and retail stores, which is something else. I don't. Those might be more like a quick momentum trade, but nothing exciting enough for me to want to say, "Gee, let me buy some." I think that kind of wraps up. I think you guys can see what I typed in, the M&A business opportunities under the Trump administration. I think this would apply to other sectors besides this. We're going to start to see probably a lot more M&A business. All right, I'm just going to give it to you straight. We have, as far as the last thing to cover here, now that the markets were done for Thanksgiving, I thought this was kind of like an important thing to just get some of these charts down, the recording. Weekly high close dojis, DraftKings, XYZ. I don't even like this guy. I don't know him. I just don't like his Darth Vader, his evil specter look, Jack Dorsey, his secrecy. Maybe he's just a weird introvert. I don't know. But there's a weekly high close doji on XYZ. Exposure to crypto. It didn't sell off relative to what crypto did. They got downgraded. They missed earnings, and it didn't fall. They missed earnings, and it didn't really fall. So XYZ, I got to put my personality aside, and I'm going to go with my capitalist side and say these guys this might have something to the upside. Now, with a high close doji, usually you buy it on the close of the open. The open could be a little bit lower next week. We'll find out. But we got a definitive risk situation that with a high close doji, which makes this so fantastic, is we know when to buy it, we know where our stop goes, and we know what our first profit target is, and we know what the holding period is. So that's why I like these are more swing and short-term trades. We got other names for lower interest rate environment. Pulte Homes, you got Toll Brothers. So if you don't want to buy one or the other, or you want to apply some options, you can buy, and we don't know which stock to buy the most of. You can buy the housing XHB or ITB housing ETF in that regards. It did generate, as you can see, the home construction ETF. These are actually the builders did generate a weekly buy. Chipotle Mexican Grill, the burrito bowl is back, baby. It's back with a vengeance. We do have people finally getting back into Chipotle Mexican Grill. And in the crypto, Cipher, CIFR, I think I did it wrong, CIFR. Cipher is another one. This also, after a correction, a high close doji with big volume, I think it got an upgrade this week when the whole crypto world imploded. Lots of MSTR, lots of negative talk in the market. I think even on CNBC, one of the head spokesperson there has his own show, talked badly and said, "Oh, this company's going under and they're going to liquidate it and blah blah blah, and crypto's going down and yada yada yada." And MicroStrategy, and I think MicroStrategy, if it was going to go down, I think the volume would have let it a lot lower. We have a bullish convergence pattern on MicroStrategy, so I don't think for the end of the year, this might have been just a little shakeout of the market, and we could get at least a little bit of recovery. So I think we put out MicroStrategy option strategy to begin with. There's Clorox, CLX. You need a little bleach to clean things up after the holidays, maybe. I don't know, but I'm just giving you what are some high probability trades for going into next week. I would go with something that's probably a little bit more pronounced and sexy. Instead of Clorox, I would go with the Texas Instruments, TXN. Did get that high close doji. We also have in the banks, which would sound counterintuitive to my call to take money off the table in the Russell. Even though the Russell, the IWM, kind of looks like a doji, PPS buy at the very least. We should see, because we're overbought and not enough volume in it, we're overbought on the relative performance of the AD comp numbers. The JP MIC oscillator went stratospherically overbought on this week. So that it went from oversold to overbought now in 1 week. So we'll probably likely pull back a little bit. What was this? What do we attribute the gains in the IWM? Well, first off, let's call PNC Oh, what a coincidence. As soon as it comes up, you're going to say, is that a high closed doji too, John? And you're going to say, yes, it is. Good call. A little high closed doji. Doji, high closed doji. PNC, Regions Financial, HBAN, HBAN, Fifth Third, FITB. We had Prudential and Truist Financial, TFC, which is SunTrust, BBT Bank, all with high closed dojis. Look at the volume. Why I didn't say buy this at the market, I had, because I'm looking for a little pullback. But the volume on these regional banks, it is if the big boys know the Fed is definitely going to cut. If the headline news tells us and comes out with nonsense stories, oh, the Fed's not going to cut, or we get one more Fed official to maybe that come out with their own agenda, they're going to, we just had the beige book out, so they got, I think, 2 weeks after Wednesday. So they've got the dark out period where Fed officials can't talk anymore. Thank God. A week before, they have a blackout period. They can't talk a week before the next meeting. So if one or two of these numbnuts can come out and say, I really don't want to raise interest rates, that'll force the market down a little bit. CNBC, Bloomberg, everybody will run with the story. Everyone will get freaked out. You buy the dip. I like the fact that we also heard from David. We heard that David Tepper, Appaloosa, and I think I did write those notes, and we're going to wrap it up right now. David Tepper, where are my notes? Let's see. David Tepper, Appaloosa, 7.3 billion, 15% of his fund. He did lighten the load a little bit. He was an 18% in BABA. He lightened it. Now we don't know what he did from September 30th to today. But Alibaba, Nvidia, 5%, Google. He's also has, you're going to like this, Comerica, CMA, KeyBank, Zion, Deutsche Bank, and TFC. So the boy has bought TFC because he owns the Carolina Panthers. And guess what Carolina has? South and North, Truist and BBT Bank. So he knows about those banks. He probably, maybe, I'm going to suspect he's on the board, knows somebody on the board of governors of the Federal Reserve, and knows they're going to probably cut rates. So he loaded the boat up, not in one stock, and he didn't go heavy. It's like 1-2% for each stock, but 2% times 5 of those stocks is 10% of his fund is in regional banks. So that's pretty powerful. Last but not least, tailwinds, interest rates. Sad story, kind of high risk. Whirlpool. The debt that they have is insane. They have bought the debt down. I want to talk about, last but not least, a little bit of Whirlpool, and I'll let you go for your weekend. Because I think this is where I can start to say, if you're looking for deals and you're looking for a product that was cheap to buy, that has the potential to go up and the low is in, people are looking for deals. Number one, yes, they have debt. They had in 22, they expanded. They bought, they have Amana, Genair, KitchenAid, and Maytag. They had bought a foreign in India, a subsidiary in India. They sold it last year to help knock their debt down. 7.3 billion was their debt load in 22. So interest rates go up. They're paying, they're writing checks for interest like no tomorrow. In 2024, because of the sale of that stake in the Indian business, that's not Elizabeth Warren's tribe. That's actually India, like Pakistan. 4.75 billion. They knocked down their debt structure. They're down to around 4.2 right now. So what do they need? What they need is business, and so they need exposure. Who is one of their competitors? Now this is interesting. GE Appliances. GE sounds American. It's not. GE, remember they split off. GE is owned by a Chinese subsidiary company with a major factory in Louisville, Kentucky. There's some factoid information that we'd probably, I'm not sure if I double checked that enough, but maybe that they resold, I'm not sure. But yeah, who else are you going to buy besides LG and other foreign companies that are getting tariffed under the Trump administration? So if we get lower rates, improvement in housing, improving in maybe construction at the very least. And I'm not saying that you're going to put a Maytag refrigerator in a data AI center for employees to go to their lunch in their kitchen, but we ought to see some kind of an upside at a Whirlpool. The risk is that their debt is still significant, but with lower interest rates, they could get a double whammy. Let's review. Where did Whirlpool come from? It came from, and we go back to about 20 years, and we go to a monthly chart, and you go, oh, well, somebody else kind of likes them because they made newer lows on a closing basis for consistent 3 months in a row. They've just been hanging at those lows. It's not going any lower. At a pivot support, this is an interesting setup here on Whirlpool. Now, can you imagine during again the expansion that they thought during COVID? This stock went from 250. I mean, if it only pulls back up and bases out in a trading range, I'm expecting a move back to 100 to 125. Somewhere right up against that benchmark resistance. 125, almost that pivot. This might be worth another shot if you were looking for stocks that everyone's pointing out valuations are overextended. Valuations are overextended. Well, I'm showing you there's a lot of stocks out there that under this administration, under this economic environment, we could have a rotation. If there's money out there that wants to buy stocks and stocks that have exposure to good commerce and increased, improved economic growth, these are the names I think that might give us some good beta and alpha returns. With that, I hope everyone had a great week, and I hope you enjoyed this presentation for a lot of what I think is some fantastic eye-opening stocks. And if these are the things that I'll be looking for some of the my accounts, and I know the newsletter and the trade room. I guess it's about day trading and scalping, and we don't do that. So I think for longer term though, and keeping our finger on the pulse of the AI trade, and again with earnings and things of that nature, I think we're going to see I'm hoping for a way to finish the year on a really good solid note. And then I'm looking really forward. I think 2026 is going to be another great year as we get a rotation out of, I think, some of these mega cap names. They're not maybe going to go down, but they're not going to see the acceleration of the upside like some of these other names. Like, in other words, I don't think Meta is going to double next year, but Whirlpool could certainly go 60, 70%. Some of the names that I gave you out there could also see a double, as we pointed out. So I really don't think Nvidia is not going to double, but it could easily see a 30%, 40% upside. So with that said, you guys have a great weekend, and I'll see you in the live trading room next week. Thanks again, everybody.